G'day and welcome back to another Dbz Dokkan video. In this video we're going to be taking a look at how the tech Super Saiyan Gohan and Goten does in the Syn Shenron event. Now Goten and Gohan are a pretty good unit, and I think they're a little bit unfortunate in that the events that came out basically, directly during the worldwide celebration, which wasn't out on JP at the time that they came out, kind of give them a hard time. It's not that they can't do them, they can do them, you just kind of have to use a couple items and all that, which isn't a big problem to me. It's a big problem to some people, but they do need a little bit of push basically to kind of survive those early phases, especially against merged Masu, like a lot of type disadvantages and things like that. So now outside of that, I don't think they're bad. I think they're actually really solid in most other events, especially when they can build up. They are like really good. I think they're just super duper solid when they can build up. You give them a good first couple turns and they look perfectly fine. And the big thing is making sure that they can get that build up though. So that's one thing that I will say is quite important, especially if you don't have a Goku on the team. So how their passive works, essentially, just to kind of like break it down so that you can understand, they have the 150%, 158% attack and defense. Same as what they had before, so nothing really changed there. Now they get 100% attack after 10 attacks, which again isn't really that big a deal. Okay, so it's all relatively the same so far. The big difference that these guys have is an additional attack and defense of 59%, and launching that other additional attack when your team has an ally whose name includes Goku attacking in the same turn. So that's the very big part, and then the 59% attack when activating the active skill when Ki is 24. So it's like very crucial when you are assessing them as a unit, that you understand that their entire EZA kind of boils down to them having a Goku. It's just one of those things. So it's like important. Obviously 24 Ki, they also get a huge attack boost, but it's very important that you understand that without basically having a Goku next to them, I think it's basically one of those situations where you're not going to see potentially the best version of them. Now that being said, they do have a couple Gokus that they link pretty well with. In Super Saiyan Goku, this tech Super Saiyan Goku that I'm using, you don't even have to link them up permanently with a Goku. You can float a Goku, you can do a lot to kind of get it to work. So you don't necessarily have to you don't necessarily have to make them specifically built around being paired up with a Goku, but you need to have access to Gokus or a Goku character quite regularly. That's what I'll say. I do think it's that's probably the most important aspect of their EZA in making sure that they are on top of things. Now outside of that 59% attack and defense only kicks in on Super. Their defense can get up to a pretty decent point without the their defense can get to a pretty decent point. We're looking at 400, 500k star turn defense, which by my estimate is pretty solid. It's good, it's reliable, I think it's consistent across most game modes. Yes, there are going to be fights now where they are going to take some damage. I think that's the case. But the big thing you have to do is build them up to that point. They still require 10 attacks, and even if you have a Goku in your team and they get their full round of additionals, it still takes them 3 or 4 rotations to really get kind of fully maxed out, which is something you kind of need to also assess. It does take them a decent chunk of time to get to their full max power. So it's definitely, I would say, something you want to consider. It's definitely something that I would say is important when you're kind of evaluating them. But I think overall for me, they're still good. They're still good. They just need that build-up time. All in the family is also quite crucial to them. As a Link set, I think all in the family is very important. Obviously gives them quite a sizable defensive boost. 20% is quite important for them. So I will say that I think they are good for like 95% of content. They're basically, to cut a long story short, they're basically a super duper second slot for any Goku that's Super Saiyan. Strength, Carnival Goku, Tech, Carnival Goku. Both of those units, they don't mind having these guys at all. And these guys don't mind really working with them at all. So, yeah, overall it's good stuff. I think for me personally, they're solid. And yeah, I think they do a great job. We're going to see them in this next turn tank. They are going to take a little bit of damage. They haven't built up even remotely like to their full capacity. That is the only, like I said, that's the only real problem that they face, unfortunately, is that they do struggle to build up, especially if you put them in a team that also has very high functioning damage dealers. Then if you start to clear phases too quickly, they actually are one of those units that cannot be fully built up. It's kind of similar, like, it's just interesting that they kept the 10 attacks. I know they essentially added in like a high chance to super and an additional super attack, or chance for a super attack from Goku. But I think, like, for me, the big problem is that essentially they like still take 4 turns, even with a Goku in rotation. They still take at minimum 4 turns unless you give them additional out of the hidden potential system, and they proc one of those. It still takes them, even then, 3 turns to get to their full power, which is just very, very long. Like, it's just quite long to get them to that point. But hey, yeah, overall I think they do well. Like I said, I think they're a solid unit. They're really decent. They're not even remotely fully built up here, but they'll do fine. They'll take a bit of damage after super. They wouldn't take any damage. They'll take damage from super attacks. It's always the case. But I think as a second slot damage dealing unit, I think they're great. I think they fulfill their niche role there pretty well, and I think overall they're just really solid. At least that's my perspective on things. But yeah, overall pretty good stuff. And yeah, we'll just have to see how they do in the long run. There are some events they're going to struggle with, but I think overall they're still a lot of fun. And I really like them, and I think they have improved. I just think you need to understand the importance of having a Goku, more than likely. But yeah, that is basically going to be it for me. I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I'll see you next time. Bye.